right, we're live. How is everybody doing tonight? So yes, as the title says, I probably broke a finger, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Carl, wrong finger. And Kung Fu Man Poo, no, not that finger. Oh. Figured this would be a fun little topic that would happen to me. Let the people get in here and we'll start talking about it, but it's kind of an embarrassing story, honestly. So hope everybody's doing good. We obviously will talk about tools after we talk about my finger, but you know, got to start out with the finger. So start getting people in the, I don't want to have to tell the story 15 times for everybody that's already heard it. So post your questions up in the chat if you want to talk about something or want me to talk about something. And then, I broke my dominant thumb at the very end of August last year. It sucks. Bone is long healed, but still working on getting strength back. I feel you on that one. When I was a teenager, I broke both of my arms. And this hand, my hand was straight, my arm was twisted like that, and I broke a bone on my other arm, and yeah, it sucked having to build up strength again, but haven't broke this is probably the third bone I've actually broken that I know of. I mean, I may have broken other stuff, but you know, breaking any sort of bone really does suck. All right. So first off, I didn't break it at work. I didn't, you know, stuff it in a car somewhere and break it. It's my pinky, by the way. This one, it's not going to show up on camera, but it's really bad. Pretty badly swollen. It's actually the same size as my ring finger. My ring physically will not fit on it. So I know it's bigger than my ring finger. Albert, ouch, I did that once, managed to still work by taping a 35 millimeter film canister to the finger, had to trim the dressing down a bit. I've just been avoiding, honestly, it's fine. As far as anything, I just, you know, if I touch it, I can't use the pinky at all. It's a pinky, so not really a bad thing. Ooh, Foxbox had a coworker just smash his toe like a grape the other day. Ugh. You know, wasn't done at work. You know, it wasn't like I stuck my finger, you know, in a serpentine belt or something like that. It's much stupider than that. But in order to tell the story, I have to tell the story about my mother-in-law's dog. because she's the reason I broke my finger. So like 8 years ago, my mother-in-law put down her Pekingese, and she has then the Pekingese actually came from my wife, and it was her dog. And then they kind of took it after we had my daughter. And so that dog lived a very good life. Well, my mother-in-law wanted a pure white Pekingese. If you know anything about Pekingese as a dog, they're most valuable when they're all white. And so she actually contacted a breeder up in Kentucky that had an all white litter, so she went up to Kentucky, drove up there, paid $500 for this all white Pekingese that turned out to be not all white. She's albino. She has a pink nose. White Pekingese have black noses. She is, has pink eyes. She's albino, but they sold her as a show dog. She's not a show dog. She's got many, many problems. When she goes to poop, she has to spin about 4,000 times. And, walking her is always an ordeal because she'll run off. She'll screw around. She'll spin for 10 minutes, do nothing, spin around for another 10 minutes. And, anyway, the other problem she has is, she has seizures. And she hasn't we put her on some medication for it, and that was a bigger problem than the seizures. She was lethargic and would just pee on herself. So we took her off that medication. We haven't taken her back to the vet to get a different medication. My mother-in-law has dementia, just in case you didn't know that. So my wife has taken that dog as hers. And well, anyway, she was having a seizure, a really, really bad seizure, like 15, 20 minutes. And she, had thrown up and, foamed, was all over the place. And I was trying to clean up the throw up and the mess. I stubbed all the toes on my left foot, and trying not to crush the dog that was having a seizure, I punched my wife's very solid desk with just my pinky. And I'm going to demonstrate on this finger. When it happened, I punched it on the knuckle, and not long after that, I basically hit it and knocked it over, and it locked like more than I can actually bend it. And it was, I was not able to actually physically open it back up. I had to physically open it back up. Something broke. Now, if you know anything about broken feet, broken toes or broken fingers, unless it needs to be reset, as in it physically broke and moved over, all they do is put a, splint on it and send you home. So I wasn't going to spend, the time and the money to go to the emergency room for them to do that. So I've just been living with it. I can tell you, hitting it on stuff hurts so much. So yeah, that's the broken finger story. Phil H says, what sucks is when working when you get your foot ran over by a Silverado by a guy who's too fat to turn his head to work aloud. God. I worked at a shop that had appreciated Gordon. I had a shop that had this weird funky lift. It was only a car lift. You could not lift anything, maybe an SUV, because it had a bar on top of it, but it had this, you pushed it up to raise the vehicle, no leg, no leg locks, nothing. It was old. No rubber on the pads, nothing. Unfortunately, all of his lifts were really, really old, except one lift that was somewhat recent. My understanding, he's replaced all those. But anyway, to lower it, you pulled it down. And I wasn't paying attention to where I was standing. And, it's decided to start coming down on my foot. Luckily, I was in reach of the thing to raise it, but that could have ended badly. Fu Man Poo, I've been sniffing my finger. Careful where you stick it. Just was wearing Nike shoes. I don't wear boots. Yeah, that sucks. I don't wear steel toe boots. I have yet to find steel toe boots that fit my feet. Every pair of steel toe boots I've bought that are wide or extra wide, the steel toe digs into my feet. I've got really wide feet. So I don't do steel toes. Oh. In other Bill H. I was going to avoid that that pun right there. Northern Grit, what's going on? It's how you clean your fingers, by the way, Phil. We all know that. I think I have a cat at my door. I destroyed Fu Man Poo. I destroyed about $1,200 worth of Pepsi products in a forklift mishap in college. I was fired. Heard the joke, sure, 20 times. Oh yeah. Clayton asked about forklifts. I have worked on two forklifts my entire life. One was I was helping another tech, and he had a running problem. It was a propane powered forklift, and I want to say it was the distribution thingamabobber. I don't remember exactly what exactly it was, but it wasn't getting fuel. Was what the problem was. It was a propane forklift, and it just wasn't getting propane. So it was the fuel distributor, I think is what they called it, or something like that. I don't remember. And then I think I put some hydraulic hoses on another one. Jeff L., do you think $250 labor rate is high for a dealership? I work for one in Northern Virginia. No. Fun fact, the shop I used to work at is over $200 on their labor rate. So, Phil H says, bring your cat in. Well, I've got two cats, and my daughter has a third. Excuse me. I have two cats. My daughter has another cat. Her cat is nicknamed El Diablo, and devil. And she is a devil. She gets into stuff. So, it would be an interesting live stream. I could tell you that much. Northern Grit, I broke the tip of my finger pinching it in a ball joint press. I have not broken a finger, but I have given myself some really bad blood blisters with a ball joint press. 360 Monk, what's up? Gordon Freeman actually seen a relay go bad this week, and it was a Denso 1-2. Must not work on a lot of Hondas. Most of the Honda AC compressor tickets I had, they would overload the relay when the clutch gets too far out. Sometimes you could reshim the clutch, but depending on what the clutch was, what the shims were already in there. But yeah, it would always kill the relay. And they had a relay problem with some of them where the AC relay would stay engaged and cause a draw. Dealerships around here, Jeff, are in that range and have been for a while. Some of the European ones are up around 300. Phil H, you working on foreign or more? You work on foreign or domestic more now? About the same. A bunch of foreign, about a bunch of domestic. About the same volume or same mix, I should say. Eyeball Room, I was a dealer in Southern California. The labor rate is $215. I don't have a clue how they're staying in business. People pay it. I don't know. The thing about that, the labor rate at my old shop was raised after I left. They'd already tried raising the labor rate to like 180 and approvals dropped like a rock. So I don't know how it's going for them now. But I heard before a friend of mine got let go that it was over 200 at that point. I think it was 215 if I remember right. Phil H, are they black cats? No. Oh, well, my cats are tortoiseshells. They're sisters. And my daughter's cat is a calico. Got this black stray on the porch every morning. He's a little crazy little dude. Fu Manpoo, Honda of Gainesville, Florida wanted $4,000 to remove a seized spark plug. God bless them. Hey, I guess that was head replacement. Phil H, tons and tons of relay sticking causing battery drains. Yeah. I mean, eyeball say 215 in SoCal ain't shit. Yeah, no, it's really not. I don't know. It's crazy what some people just don't understand how you don't know there. I mean, let's be honest. That's really surprising with a dealership not wanting to charge more because the shop is usually a huge revenue generator for them. So it's kind of weird. Phil H, dealers won't touch a car 10 years old. Some will. They wouldn't touch half of what aftermarket guys work on. Well, no. They won't work on every make and model and take in tractors and everything else that some shops do, but ISO labor rates are over 200 everywhere, but somehow there's no money for a raise. That's why this field sucks. You know, there are shops that are willing to pay. You just got to find them. Yeah. Dealers, it's mostly overhead. And Honda's only required a facelift of their buildings. But you know, I don't understand. I don't understand those economics. You know, when independents are over $200. Phil H, I charge $200 to program Chryslers and $120 minimum to do keys in Ohio. I mean, that's kind of cheap to do Chryslers, honestly. I've been hourly since the 90s. That gives me a good segue into the changes that are coming to keys, which will be tomorrow's video. But if you use your aftermarket scan tool to add keys, to do all keys lost, any sort of security, you're going to have to be licensed, insured, and vetted by the NASTF, and will have to pay them fees, and it will be through online and offline somehow through all aftermarket scan tools. So if you're doing keys and that kind of stuff, it's changing. But apparently everybody's now got the Phil got the NASTF screen. Yeah. Get ready for it. So if you're doing that kind of business, either get your license or prepare to call out a mobile guy, because you're going to be locked out of it. It's going to be just like the auto auth for Chrysler to just clear codes. You're going to have to log in. So keep that in mind. I remember the Honda facelift a few years ago. They all looked like their children's school. Oh, I can give you a funny story. Thornton Chevrolet here in Atlanta, the owner had gone through and because he owns a chunk of Thornton Road, and had plans drawn up for a completely new dealership. And the plan was to build it behind his current existing dealership, because at that point in GM's thought was they wanted you to drive up to the building and have the cars kind of around you, restricting access to the cars, which most dealerships do nowadays. But had everything done, had the permitting done, had all the architectural drawings made, and his dad, the original owner, said, screw that. We're not doing that. And so they did a facelift on the old building that had been there since the 70s. So he did not get a new building. So they're still in a building that is old as dirt. Sergio, what's up? Owen, I got half a finger shot off with a shotgun 20 years ago. You learn to adapt. Yeah, no, I mean, it's on my left hand, but it's surprising how much I use my left hand. And, you know, it's painful to stick my left hand where it doesn't need to go with a broken finger, and try to do something that I would normally do with my left hand. I've talked about it before, but I'm fairly ambidextrous, and it's just easier, for me to do stuff with my left hand, because you don't have to rotate your hand around trying to, shove it in backwards. So, Phil H, I had to get the VSP early this year. That's the VSP is the license you have to get from them. Early this year, they kept beating around the bush. Like, come on, dude, check that application, chop. Don't have months to wait. That's going to be a big thing. That was before the entire country in 30 to 45 days is going to have to get this to do this work. Think about how backed up that's going to be when they screwed around with Phil and he was getting it before all this stuff. Phil H, have a good one. Take it easy. But yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be a cluster. And I know some of you may have seen it. Mario's already done a video about it. And it's funny, the guys that are doing mobile diagnostics and already have their license are all touting this as great and awesome. And your opinion may vary on that. I think there's going to be a huge rise in ways to circumvent this system. And I think that's going to be what happens. For a lot of people, going through the process and having to log in every time, or they use a tool they bought off eBay. It's going to happen a lot more now than before, whereas they could just use their scan tool. They're just going to go around it, or they're not going to update certain tools to do it, or they're going to buy Chinese tools. Owen licensed to steal. I mean, there's several ways I could interpret that, Owen. The reason they're doing this is to improve automotive security. Like prohibition worked so well for alcohol. The war on drugs worked so great on curtailing the amount of drugs in the United States. I really do wonder how much the NASTF is actually working in the best interest of the automotive aftermarket. They've kind of, like, even going to their website, it's behind a wall. The information that used to be available just on the website, like manufacturers' websites to go for tools or subscriptions, was just there. You go there and pull it up. Now it's, I don't know. I haven't gone to that, I haven't gone there. I've used mobile programmers for long enough because it's just really not worth it as me as a technician to try to keep up with 20 brands of programming and knowing all the idiosyncrasies of this procedure and that procedure. It's worth it to bring in a mobile guy that does it every day and knows how to deal with problems. Paulo, what's up? Northern Grid. Okay, I know most guys don't like to share, so I understand if you don't want to, but do you have a personal best hours build an actual in per 40 actual hours? My best so far is 76.5. My best was 86 hours in a 45 work week. The shop I did that at, I worked 45 hours a week. So that was my best. And I want to point out that was actual work done that week, not a bunch of, stuff that, was done the week before, but didn't ship the week after, that kind of stuff. because I had one week where I had 50 hours bill out on one car, and it was all done week before. It just didn't get billed out till Monday. But yeah, that was the actual best week I've ever had. Billed out, started and done that week, which is you know, because I think my actual highest build week was 96, I think. And that was the week I did, had 50 hours that was held over from the week before. So Northern Grit. Yeah, we call it sandbagging when you have a big job almost done, but leave it till next week. Well, I wasn't actually sandbagging. It was literally, it didn't bill out. The week before I did like 38 hours, and would have been, you know, it didn't really. Thing about those kind of weeks for me is like, it doesn't really matter whether it goes on one check or the other. You know, I've worked with guys that like freak out, you know, like I need those hours. Like it'll get billed next week. You'll get your money next week. I gotta have it. It's like, are you that broke that 10 or 12 hours, that was, you know, some of the context, is going to break you for the week? You got a bigger problems than a 12-hour job not shipping. I've always had, you know, it's like, you know, I excuse me. Like I've had the old shop a couple times. He's had payroll problems, and the you know, payroll didn't automatically deposit, and it was his fault. And he was like, you know, I can write you a check right now. I'm like, oh, it's whatever. It you know, as long as I get my money, I don't care. It's not a big deal. He wound up, because other people had to have their money, because, you know, they were literally working paycheck to paycheck. And so he wound up writing me checks those times, but it wasn't like he didn't have the money. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't have the money. He had the money. It just, like one time he changed payroll companies and they didn't have everything set up right or something. And the other time, I think he thought he put in payroll into the system, but didn't hit send or something. I don't know. But, you know, he wrote us a check and it cleared. So, so don't think I'm saying he didn't have the money or anything like that. But, yeah, I've had many people complain about not getting paid on a job. And it's like, how is this such a big deal? I mean, like like 50 hours, like the job I was talking about, that, you know, cause I had to do, you know, the engine multiple times and all that. And, you know, like that would be something I can understand somebody being pretty upset about not getting billed because it was 50 hours. But, you know, 10 or 12 or whatever, it's like, I don't bill next week. Okay. So I remember having 20-hour days years ago when I was flat rate, was good. Yeah, I've had many 20-hour days. I'd love to have 20-hour days every day, but, you know, 12 or 14 are usually pretty good. You know, when you're working 5 days a week, kind of averages out to a good paycheck. But on that subject, I will go back to a fleet shop I used to work at. I was flat rate, not hourly or anything like that. I was flat rate. And because of how the system worked, they would like I would sell a job and, they'd get it approved. Hadn't even started working on the cars and it would already be billed out. I would be paid for it. And I had not turned one wrench on it other than the diagnosis. So like almost every week working there, I started in the hole. So like I would, get in there, see all this work that was already sold and billed for and approved. And then I was always catch up. Sucked so bad because it was always, Monday, Tuesday was trying to knock that stuff out so you could work on the rest of your week. And it always sucked because you were always behind. The manager of that place got fired. Learning 66. Yeah, that would be annoying getting paid ahead of time. I hate that. It was very annoying. It sucked. I'd get because it was a handwritten, you'd write every job you did down, the hours you billed. They would compare it against what they had in the system and correct it or whatever. And like, I can't tell you how many times I would get it back and it'd be like 20 hours, 30 hours above what I had written down. And I'm like, oh shit. Get my paycheck. Of course it got taxed at a higher rate because, and then I'd be trying to catch up. And it wasn't small jobs, like I had a engine job that got billed out and the engine had just gotten delivered like on a Friday. And it's like, okay, great. Let me get working on that one. Luckily for that shop, because of how it ran, the schedule was pretty steady because they had porters that went out and picked up vehicles. So basically you got, it came in like waves and you get 2 or 3 cars, check them out real quick, work on another vehicle on another bay while you're waiting for the next batch and that kind of stuff. Paulo, we call getting fired getting 2 in the hat, as in 2 bullet holes. Okay. That's, I don't know what to say on that one other than laugh, but other than sandbagging and, fingers getting hurt or toes or whatever, do we have any tool questions? Because as entertaining as talking about, getting 2 in the hat is, or me complaining about, weird stuff that people do. I mean, I could do that too, Let's see if I missed anything. Learning 66. You have any tool bills these days? I took a 1.5 years off. Haven't needed much recently. Have a Matco guy that just started his business. Good guy. Hope he makes it through this economy. Yeah, hopefully. No, I pretty much pay cash for what I need. When I say cash, I swipe a credit card and then pay it off. But there's not much I need. You know, I haven't seen anything that makes me go, ooh. Really, I haven't seen much that makes me go, ooh, this would be, you know, something to make a video on. It's like, there's not much coming out that is compelling. You know, there's really not much out there in the world that, you know, I've seen that like, ooh, I got to get that. Paulo, I try to throw good tool truck dealers a bone when I can. Yeah. Like I said, I go on the trucks. It's just like Vim's, you know, Vim introduced a ultra wide socket rail for big sockets. I don't have anything above, you know, 1/2 inch in, you know, my toolboxes. All my big stuff is stored away in storage. I don't use it for anything. So why am I going to invest in a expensive Vim rail socket holder? So, I mean, even stuff like that, it's not compelling. It's unfortunately Learning 66 right there with you, except Phil's probes from AES Wave is on my list. Phil's probes are good. You know, I probably should get a set of Phil's probes, but I just haven't. You know, I've got 6 or 8 of the piercing probes, and that's, you know, works fine for me. You know, the rare times that I want to pierce something that's way down below, I just shove my hand in there or whatever. And I've gotten really good, honestly gotten really good at manipulating those probes to get them onto the wire I need with one hand. You know, piece of advice, make sure the car's off. Because if the air compressor thinks it's got power, the cooling fan is running, and even plastic cooling fan blades hurt. Just a note. Northern Grid, I can't wait till the Icon clone of the Snap-on ball joint press comes out. I hope it's under $500. I don't know. Icon's prices are getting kind of high. So I don't know what the pricing is. I don't have any contacts with Harbor Freight. So I don't know. But for me, I don't do a lot of press and ball joints, and I have, you know, I have my older OTC with the Astro pneumatic expansion kit, and I've got the newer, snap-in OTC Matco ball joint press. So I can't, it doesn't make sense for me to invest in a third ball joint press. My Motor Breath, my Snap-on guy gave me 2 in the hat. I was going to order a sweet 10-inch blade screwdriver from the site. They were going to charge $25 to ship it. Oh my God. Vim released purple mag rails. I'm orange, so I'm all in the orange thing. I'm Bam Bam was the guy into purple. But he's already got a bunch of blue ones. Paulo Matco had a ball joint press set in the flyer today for $2,100. Yeah, I mean, that's the one with all the adapters and everything like that. So, Rich Thom, when I went to tech school, the basic tool set I bought at the discount was Snap-on Industrial Finish. I now have Chrome, Snap-on, and Matco, but like the feel of non-Chrome. Am I alone? My wrenches are Chrome, but all of my sockets are Impacts. I don't care about Chrome. You know, I don't. It looks good, but that's about it. You know, my Impact sockets work as well as a Chrome socket. Even better because I use them without, you know, with Impacts or whatever, and don't have to worry about them. So no, I don't really, I don't get the stiffy from chrome like some people do. Like it doesn't. I don't care. Mars from Cali, what are your thoughts on KNIPEX pliers? Is I assume what you're saying. KNIPEX are German, very well made. Yes, and lifetime. So yes. ISO, I have the snap-on ball joint kit. That piece is clicking. It's pretty good. I don't know how the OTC is. The OTC is the equivalent. The adapters pop in and retain. Their initial kit, the one I have, needs some more adapters, but you know, it works. It works fine. The initial kit didn't have enough adapters. They said it covered 90% of the market, but doesn't. So, or I've run into places where that kit has, you know, won't work. So, but for me, I have, you know, the Astro pneumatic adapter kit. I can pretty much press in any ball joint I need to. Jay Zilla, do you know or think an individual can make money on flat rate just doing drivability and electrical? As long as the shop is properly billing for it, absolutely. If the shop is billing for it properly. Before my roles at the old shop changed, I was doing mostly diagnostics and the repairs involved with those diagnostics. I wasn't doing a lot of oil leak repairs or, you know, oil changes. You know, things shifted at that shop. I got, you know, technicians that wanted diagnostic work and had the ability and that kind of stuff. And so I went from more training and doing a bunch of diagnostic to spreading out the diagnostic load. So everybody was doing diagnostics, but I was making easily 50, 60 hours doing that all week long. So yes. Learning 66, how has everybody's workload been? Been slower since Christmas, expecting a slower than normal year besides a spike from tax season. Unfortunately, where I'm at, tax season goes the other way because people pay taxes where I work. So no, it's slowed down. Darren Locke just bought a new Matco toolbox, which is 44 times 22 with flip top 4S. Can't wait to see it. Use it as my main box. Upgraded from a small Craftsman box. Congratulations. The 4S is a really good toolbox. Charles says, just a tip, if when your Riley rep comes by your shop, ask him to give you a price on the OTC ball joint kit and tell him to hook you up. I got the main kit but didn't buy the accessory kit and picked it up for $550. That's a really good deal. Charles, I have found the main kit. There are some stuff you will need depending on what kind of stuff you do. R3Y's NZ, what do you do at your current stop? Drivability, diagnostics, and repairs. Same stuff I did at the old shop, except not a shop foreman. So, yeah, just same stuff. Just don't have any responsibilities other than fixing my cars. But getting back to Charles, yeah, there are instances I've had where the standard kit will not work. Tried literally every combination, and I don't remember. The problem is I didn't write it down and don't remember what the vehicle was. But there has been a couple times where I had to cobble together a solution out of my Astro kit to get a job done. So it does do a lot though. Learning 66 have a 4S for years, gets shit done, no complaints. Yeah, no, I mean Matco makes really good boxes. Paulo says Land Rover Discovery ball joints blow. Everything on a Land Rover blows, including head gaskets. Ba-doom boom. But yeah, Matco makes really good toolboxes. Anybody that says they don't does not know what they're talking about. Seahawks, do you know why flat rate is uncommon in heavy duty mechanics? It's a different business model. It's fleets. It's a lot harder to a lot of heavy duty side of the business came out of, like, let's be honest, a lot of trucking companies had repair shops in-house. They're working for themselves, and shops, you know, technicians that work for those shops went out and opened their own shops. And I think that's just how, my opinion, how it grew into primarily a hourly situation. Is that's kind of how the industry grew up. Whereas the automotive side of it came out of the dealership model where, you know, Henry Ford created the flat rate system. So that would be what my guess would be, but it's, you know, 100% my opinion. No information, you know, that I know of would point to why, but that would be my guess. R3, Y, and Z. The only thing I like from Matco are the ratchets and boxes. Their swivel impacts are the shit. I love their actual US made impact swivels, not the ADV. The Matco actual branded ones are phenomenal. My 1/4 inch are always in use. They are not cheap, but they work really well. Seahawks, yeah, like almost every, I think, you know, my opinion is I think most of the shops grew out of fleet shops that were owned by the company that owned the equipment. So that would be my guess. ISO, I don't know why people buy boxes off the truck for full price when there's a ton of cheaper used options online. Customizing, wanting the colors you want. You know, I mean, let's be honest. You really, you know, there's cheaper options than a tool truck toolbox. You know, they're not, you know, you can still break into them, you know, 10 minutes in a shop, you know, and I can tell you it's not hard to break into a toolbox no matter who makes it. And there's tricks to getting into certain toolboxes that are really easy. It's, you know, it's a technician splurging on themselves. You know, it's like the nice car. It's like the nice, nice house you live in, or, you know, it's the nice, you know, firearm you like, you know, or whatever your personal hobby is. We like nice toolboxes, you know, because we're technicians. And I It's not a necessary thing. You know, you can go to Harbor Freight and buy a toolbox for a lot less money than a tool truck, but it's something that, you know, people like. You know, I mean, you know, I can tell you every toolbox I've ever owned. I bought Husky when I first started out. Then I bought the Snap-on Bel Air Edition new. It did have some shipping damage on it. Used that for 20 years. In the meantime, I also bought a top and bottom home box that was a Snap-on branded, but it was a Blue Point box. Used that for a few years at home. Took the bottom box to the shop. Used that as additional storage. Then I bought another Husky box for a while. Then I bought a used yellow Matco that I had when I started the channel. And then the Revel X, and then the Revel. So it's, you know, the yellow toolbox was because it was cheap and I needed more storage. Don't touch my Oreos. When would be the best time to upgrade to a toolbox, a bigger toolbox? The thing about a bigger toolbox is when everything is stacked on top of other stuff. When you have to unload half a drawer to get stuff out, it's costing you time, which is costing money. And the more you have to do that on a daily basis, you know, you need more storage, whether that's a second toolbox, a locker, or, you know, a tool cabinet or something like that. That's really when you need to upgrade, is when you literally have to move stuff to get to stuff. And I'm not going to point out that I have to do that still to this day, but, you know, not upgrading. ISO, I paid $1,300 for a classic series. Cannot beat that. Put your pride to the side and save so much money. You know, I don't regret buying what I bought. So it's entirely up to you. I don't recommend running out and buying a $10,000 or $20,000 toolbox when you don't have tools. That's, you know, you shouldn't be buying, you know, those kind of toolboxes until you have all the tools you really need and then move up. Jay Zilla, did you struggle early on in your career as a technician? Fixing cars, definitely. You know, budget wise, I struggled early on to buy the tools I needed. You know, I frequented a lot of pawn shops, stuff like that, you know, because it was a very different time. There was not the stuff we have available nowadays. You know, we don't have it. I didn't have Amazon and stuff like that. So that's really where I struggled most, was getting the tools I needed to be efficient, because that is not a new trait for me. But yeah, that's, you know, I always excelled at electrical diagnostics, but figuring out patterns, and not patterns as far as, you know, like pattern failures, but patterns to do repairs. And that, you know, was kind of stuff I struggled with. Is kind of my path to doing repair was always kind of struggling for me. You know, that was, you know, before all data was on, you know, that was before online. So service procedures was in a book, and, you know, you weren't consulting that book with your hands covered in grease. So, Learning 66, I will tell you, $1,500 Matco JSC 750 and $4,200 bucks. Matco 444S with a few $100s in the tube, both off the truck. I mean, you can get deals off the truck. There's no way around that. But yeah. Back in the shop, my opinion is Lista toolboxes are the best quality. I will not agree with that. Lista are mid-tier at best. And I used to work with Challenger lifts, and I went into shops that had Lista toolboxes installed, and they were not top tier. Now keep in mind, the Snap-on installations were not top tier either. There was one Canadian company that was probably the best of those kind of installs, but still I never thought any of those companies put their best products in those systems for like dealership where they, provide your toolboxes and all that. Seahawks are the tool truck torque wrenches, much more accurate than something like Capri or Husky. I've never tested if you have access to a tool truck that has a torque gauge on it, you can test a torque wrench on the truck. If you have a decent relationship, he'll let you test your torque wrench, thinking he might sell a torque wrench. I don't know, but I don't know how I'd have to look at the certification tickets for the torque wrenches to know how far off of calibration they can fall, because that's the biggest thing with torque wrenches is how, when they tested them, how accurate or how far off of accurate is the allowable to the torque spec. So if, let's say, you're torquing to 100 foot-pounds, most torque wrenches are 2%. So like Snap-on, Matco, 2%. Are they 5% or more, or I don't know. But the lower the torque, honestly, the more critical it is to have very precise tools. So like 1/4 inch where you're doing 8 Newton meters, really important to have a really accurate torque wrench versus 250 pounds for a, axle nut. Less important, you're actually, critically at your 250. So I've always gone to the opinion I'd rather spend the money for tools I know that are going to be very accurate, but for most people, probably Capri or Husky will be accurate enough for most work. But like for, torquing BMW oil pans, it's 8 Newton meters and then 90 degrees. It's an aluminum fastener. Well, if you screw up the, 8 Newton meters and you go 90 and break the bolt because you torqued it more than, 8 Newton meters, that's a big problem. Whereas, as long as a head is torqued evenly and then torqued 90 degrees, it's probably going to be fine. So I was long-winded to say they're probably accurate enough for most work. So Darren Locke watched a video from Matco of a Matco toolbox surviving a fire. Can any others do that? Yeah, they're all fireboxes. I mean, let's be honest. It's a metal box. Darren. Like the I'll give you a simple example. The Epics from Snap-on. If it was in a fire, all the handles would be melted away. Because they're plastic. They hook on the metal, but they're, the thing you touch is actually plastic. That kind of stuff will melt away on any toolbox, but they're fireboxes, So yeah, it's most of it survive. Rich Thumb, mostly heavy duty here. We are not a dealer, but we do warranty powertrain work. Most trucks are out of warranty in about a year. We charge whatever is more flat rate or straight time. Okay. It was more about the industries itself, the question earlier. It's just how, I'm theorizing how that industry went to, hourly technicians instead of flat rate. And that's, kind of came out of two different kind of industries. So I'm surprised more people don't fabricate their own box, but I suppose it would probably be more money and might screw it up and can't get any replacement parts. Yeah. Watch Adam Savage Tested. He recently built a storage system for Sortimo cases. He had like 2 days into building basically sliding drawers for all of his cabinets, or for all of his Sortimo cases. It's a lot of work bending, shaping metal. I mean, it is. Learning 66, nice toolbox is a want. If you'd rather save for a nice car, do that. I paid cash for a cart and toolbox. Chris also says, tool purchases should come when you have disposable income. Well, toolbox purchases don't always work like that. The nice toolbox, tool truck toolboxes should definitely come when you have disposable income and you have all the, the vast majority of tools you need on a day-to-day basis. But you still need a toolbox to put your tools in. So that's technically not, correct because you need a toolbox, but don't overspend when you're starting out for a toolbox. It's a metal box to hold your tools. Buy what you can afford and buy tools more importantly. So don't buy a toolbox. Don't buy a tool truck toolbox when you're starting out or until you're well established. As Chris says, when you have disposable income. Seahawks are Tecton tools, good quality for newer techs. Yes. He has no name, but that guy says Tecton has great warranty. If you want to wait, you can wait a couple days for shipping. Yeah, I mean that's the only downside to them is warranty, but no, they're good quality tools. Yeah, back in the shop, I bought 4 20-year-old Lista boxes and one new one in addition to the two 20-year-old file cabinets for blow molded cases. Bolt them all together and works perfect for me. The drawers are rated at 440 pounds. I spent $3,500 for everything. 20-year-old Listas have, do those have roller slides? Because I think they're friction slides. Rich Thumb, you need a new box when it's overloaded. Never had one that wasn't. Yeah. Threw away all the packaging cases when I didn't have room. Wish I had the cases now. Yes, there's lots of stuff. I wish I'd kept the cases just for organization now. Like I love having my radiator cap adapter kit in the case. I don't have the lid anymore. I did throw that away, which I don't care about, but it's so much nicer just pulling out my drawer and having all my adapters right there. That's just one example, but there's other stuff that I've, like my old teal box, those itty bitty little drawers that Snap-on famously put 15 million of them on their toolboxes, which is the reason I never bought a Masters Series triple bank, because they had too many of those little drawers and I hate them because you can't even fit their cases and their little, like you buy a set of scrapers and it was too thick to go in that drawer. So yeah. Zeffel says there are custom steel cabinet chest providers that are perhaps the same or less cost than Snap-on. Look for racing service truck fabricators that make custom beds. Back in the shop said, I mean, I'm sure I mean, that's an option to get a custom made box, you know. The old ones have steel ball bearings. The new ones have steel rollers. I don't think they're 20 years old then. Because Lista has only started using rollers. I don't know exactly when, but I know their older stuff was friction. But I could be wrong on that. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to, Lista boxes on the used market, so I could be wrong on that. Seahawks, what's the most amount of hours you or another coworker has gotten in a busy flat week with flat rake? Bam Bam broke 100 hours at the shop I used to work at. Started and finished in 1 week, 100 hours. That was the only way we count it, by the way, at the old shop. Another tech, and he just beat the old record for a technician that had over 100 hours, and I forget exactly how more he went over 100 hours, but I know the other tech did like 101 hours right before he quit. And there were a lot of comebacks from that 100-hour week from the one guy. Bam Bam had to deal with his own comebacks, so I don't know exactly how many he had for that week, but he did over 100 hours in a single week. I have never done that, so I have no interest in doing that, honestly, by the way. Killing myself for a bigger hit on taxes doesn't make sense to me, okay? I'm dead for the weekend, and how much of my check went to taxes now? Good God, no. I don't want to work that hard, especially in my at almost 50. I don't want to be killing myself, I work to live, not live to work. I mean, I still do a lot. I still work a lot, but I don't want to have to, go home and pass out every night because I'm exhausted. So, but yeah, over 100 hours is the most I've ever seen. And that's a single week build in a single week, started and finished in that week. Yeah. A couple techs got really close to that at the old shop. One, Daniel, I think it was, did like 120 hours in 1 week, but he had 30 or 40 hours of carryover. So work that was done the week before, but didn't bill out. So his didn't count as a record because, it was well below the 100 hours after you discount what he, did the week before. Positivity Incarnate. Hi, just had a good tool haul. What's your thoughts on having impact versus regular sockets? Do you need 3/8 chrome? Occasionally, maybe. But not very often with the impact sockets I have, and I have a mixture of Snap-on, Matco. It's pretty the one instance I can reliably say is on the 2.5 when you're doing the air injection valve on the back of the head. You have to have a 1/4 inch 10 millimeter chrome socket to get that off. But 99% of the time I use impact sockets for everything. So, you know, about the only time I pulled chrome out was I needed 12 point, and I have chrome 12 points and 3/8 and 1/2 inch. Back in the shop, I found Lista, Vidmar, and Equipto have very similar rollers on their slides. There are different variations through the last 20 years, but all of them I've seen have roller slides. Positive Incarnate, no, 2.5 Volkswagen, the 5-cylinder. Volkswagen, it's got one recessed 10 millimeter head, and it's pretty tight. No, I don't use chrome at all for the most part, other than wrenches. Seahawks, your shop do mostly European cars, or American and Asian primarily, with some European. Matt, there's an independent body shop and also does tires in a little town of 300 people in South Dakota. Shop is backed up 6 months right now. The shop is 9 miles from me. Are those 300 people in that town that bad drivers? Obviously, he's got to have work coming. Either he's a really small shop and they don't have much volume, or they've got a lot of cars coming in from other parts of the area, but that's cool. Back in the shop, I just hit 137 hours and 2 weeks ago. I regularly hit 100 hours a week. Yeah, no, I'm not, especially in a dealership environment, 100 hours isn't, unheard of at all. Independent shop's a little harder, just because we work on so many different makes and models, whereas dealer techs especially, you're doing the exact same job. You could probably put a blindfold on, take a nap while you do most repairs. Learning 66 here in the Northeast, you need that chrome for the rust, especially rusty exhausts where they lose sizes through rust. There's many different ways to deal with rust, but it's one way. Seahawks, what's your least favorite car brand to work on? Land Rover and Jaguar. Hate them. Hate them, hate them, hate them. You look at it, cooling system parts break. The owners suck. The cars suck. They suck. Charles, where are you located? I'm located in Atlanta. What are your thoughts about the nasty email on security? Charles, there'll be a video coming out tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. where I talk about it. I think there's going to be a lot of abuse on the system. I talked about it earlier in the live stream, but there's going to be a huge market for people to circumvent it because it's, yeah. Charles mentioned I meant NASTF. Yeah. I figured, but I inferred you were talking about the email on I think there's going to be a lot of people that are circumventing it. They're going to circumvent it. It's not going to do the purpose they think it will do. It's just going to be a huge market for the Chinese to get around it. There are already tools that do it. So they're just increasing the market for them. I don't think it's going to do what they want it to do. Yeah, Matt, it had to be all over the area. Learning 66, 100 hours in a dealership nowadays, you're ripping someone off if it's 80% warranty. I've heard, I haven't talked to anybody recently, but there's, I'm not going to say that's accurate or inaccurate learning. I've heard different things, and especially very, very different things from one dealership to the next. Jayzilla, can someone pay you for 30 minutes of your time on one-on-one advice? I really don't have a good way to do that. Would be the best way to put it. Send me an email or send me a message on Instagram or Facebook, and type out what your questions are and I'll answer them. That's probably the best way, and I wouldn't charge you for that. Yeah, but you can send me an email at flatratemaster@gmail.com, and I'll answer it as quickly as I can. Eric Souza, hey, what should I buy as my tool storage if I'm working from a van, since I'm going to the forklift side of mechanics and they will provide a van to do service? Roll cars currently have a 22-inch. The boxes in a work van take a good bit of they'll shake themselves apart if they're not good quality. So take that into mind. I don't know what your space requirement is. But most people with service trucks that I've seen that they bolt inside of a van is they go buy a Husky or something like that, take the wheels off and bolt it to the bottom of the van and use it till it breaks, basically. So either buy a really expensive box designed for road service, or buy a cheap Husky or Harbor Freight and expect to replace it, every 5 probably years or so. Matt, what's the security thing you're talking about? NASTF, there'll be a whole video about this tomorrow, is along with the OEMs are instituting a program or requirement, I should say, that you have to have a VSP license to do anything with security. So if you want to add a key, customer lost a key, they still have one. Just to add a key, you have to go through a licensing system, and the scan tool will prompt you for your credentials. It has to talk to the server. It's, kind of like auto auth, except you actually have to go through a process to get approved. And so basically, if you want to do anything security related, it's gonna add another step, and it's gonna add a junior locksmith license kind of thing to having to do any of it. Uh 22-inch toolbox. Yeah, I mean, bolted down, and if it holds your tools, and just bolt it down so it doesn't go anywhere, and you'll be fine. But yeah, no, I mean, it's whatever, however you want to go. Charles Johnstone, I gotta say, at a live stream a few weeks ago, FRM reached over at his green screen toolbox and pulled out a scan tool from his green screen toolbox, and it was sick. What? It's the one right there. Right there. The X tool. JWC Tech, which when you read the requirements link from the NASTF VSB registry, they seem super strict. They're not as strict as a full locksmith license, but getting there. Positivity Incarnate, if there was an independent tool truck that sold Vim, Tecton, Capri, Astro, etc., would you buy from them if they handle warranty and stuff as well? I used to have an independent guy. He sold gear wrench, SK. When he was coming in, me and Andrew that used to work at the same shop used to go out there and we call it a treasure hunt because his truck, he'd been a tool truck for years at that point, and there was just always stuff under stuff, and we've always found just interesting, cool stuff. So yes, if they're gonna support it, I have no problem supporting that. Matto Little Elk Wells. That's what I think will happen. It seems like a good opportunity for Chinese to make more advanced scan tools. Yes, it's going to be a lot of people circumventing the market, having to log in. They're just going to make tools that don't go do that kind of stuff. I mean, I in the video tomorrow, I talk about back when BMW, Mercedes, etc. did not sell their tools to the aftermarket. There was a huge market for cloned of those tools. And, every European shop had those clone tools for years. And that's all that's going to do is push a bunch of people towards those clones, which is going to cause other problems. Zeffel and Blocksmiths hate all the licensing crap. Yeah. Paulo Annie key. It will be linked to every aftermarket scan tool. So yes, any car you try to do anything security related will require a login. Abris, getting my ASEs, but having second thoughts about becoming a mechanic. Any advice? Understand there's going to be struggles starting any job, any kind of job, whether it's, getting into teaching, whether it's getting into, carpentry or HVAC. You're going to struggle for the first few years, regardless. You're learning so much starting out. Stop focusing, and especially stop focusing on the stuff you don't know. Celebrate the stuff you've learned and then continue to learn new stuff is the best advice I can give you. It's a fun job. I enjoy it. It's just something that, any new career, you're going to get your butt kicked regardless. The old corporate, structure where you'd go in and start at the mailroom with a business degree. That's, how you start in this industry. So there's always going to be, the starting point of any career. So work through it, celebrate your victories. Don't focus on the stuff you did wrong, and learn from everything you do. Did the van guy buy an old school Mac or Snap-on with friction size off Marketplace? Best for service trucks. You know. Back in the shop, does the key licensing apply to scan tools that are a year or two out of date and not connected to the internet? No. They're not updated. I don't think they're going to lock them down, but you might want to turn off Wi-Fi. Just saying, because they might. But the big thing is, if it's not connected to the internet, they can't do anything to your tools. As long as the security functions is on the scan tool, you'll still be able to do it. You just won't be able to do updated newer cars. Charles Meekum, I have a question. Why don't creators tell us what they bill for repairs? Is it as a YouTube creator? Because they're going to get hate. Doesn't matter what they say. You know, let's say, you know, they put an alternator on a car and their shop charged $100 to install it, $100 for the alternator. Somebody's going to say, you know, a bunch of comments are going to be, it's too expensive. Other comments are going to be, it's way too cheap. It's a no-win for them. I did a video years ago. Yeah, it's been years. Talking about why I don't include prices when I do tool reviews. You know, I did a video 8 years ago about scan tools that is like 500,000 views. It's from 8 years ago and still gets views. And so it's, there's no win to it for the content creator, honestly. They're just going to get a bunch of people hating on them for saying what they charged. Chris, do shops typically frown on the flat rate guy who never takes lunch? No, hell no. They're going, yeah, I'm going to bill more money. I don't encourage that. I don't encourage any tech to not take lunch. Even if it's not, I don't eat lunch. Honestly, I get in my truck, smoke a cigar, and watch YouTube. I don't eat lunch because if I eat lunch, I tend to not eat enough at dinner, and then I'm eating crap at night, so I don't tend to eat lunch. But, so take your lunch. Take your time away from the shop. That extra 20 minutes... As Paulo says, comment section can be a sewer. Yes. That's the thing is, take your time away from the shop, decompress, reset. It's one of the best things you can do for yourself. Positive Incarnate at my shop, we have a guy we call in for a security program because it's cheaper for the shop to outsource those things. So happy we don't care about the security things. Yeah, that's my opinion as well. Programming, it's easy, it's fun, it's cool. I don't remember who said this. Programming is easy until it isn't. If you've ever programmed a car and everything goes fine, it's easy money. The problem is when it doesn't go fine. When all of a sudden the internet connection craps out and you all of a sudden don't have a car that no longer starts, you have no communication, et cetera, et cetera. And don't have to worry about, getting through a programming session and then realize you need the OEM scan tool to finish doing the relearns because the aftermarket tools won't do it, et cetera, et cetera. Just call on the mobile guys that have, can do it on every car they touch. Matt Elbray for the new kid. I started out not knowing which end of a wrench to turn. Yeah. Felipe, drop an alternator in coolant bucket. What do you think's going to happen? Nothing. Spray it out with, rinse it out with water, let it dry completely, put it on the car. It'll work fine. Get rid of the coolant though. But yeah, it'll work fine. As long as you let it dry, especially electronics. The insurance, JWC Tech, the insurance requirement for the VSP registration seems like it will definitely take a lot of the smaller shops and mobile guys from what the guidelines are saying. Mobile guys that do programming and keys, no, because they already have that insurance. They have better insurance than that. But yeah, it definitely is going to take the smaller, more niche mobile guys and smaller shops. Exactly. Charles Johnstone's. I watched FRM videos from about 5 years ago. Yeah. Charles making my drink Coke Zero too. I drink Coke Zero, whiskey, and coffee. Have you positive incarnate? Have you used the HDR 716 ratchet? Probably not. No, I definitely have not. I don't know how much I feel how I feel about that handle either. But no, I have not used it. Eric Souza, the only one thing about the old shop is the Matt Gug guy. He was super awesome, but now my wallet is happier. Yeah, I'm sure my old Matco dealer is less happy about not being there, but Seahawks as an example for full service brake job, rotors, calipers, brake pads, and new wheels. Generally I don't know what you mean by new wheel. I guess wheel cylinders. Separate job. It's an hour and a half for rotors, brake pads, and cleaning the hubs and lubing everything. Wheel cylinders varies by car. Whatever it pays, plus a drum brake job, which we don't see much of anymore. It's mostly calipers, mostly brakes front and rear. Calipers are an additional labor, so replacing a caliper typically is about a half hour per side plus a brake flush. Eric Souza, hey, I've been trying in the past few days is let my feet take a breather during lunch, and then when I get back, put new socks on, and the mood goes up, and I hate when it does that. Put new socks on, and the mood goes up, and feel very refreshed to start working again. Yeah, I mean, I don't do, I don't have real sweaty feet. And I use the Matco bamboo socks, which are really good. Oh, which are really good at wicking away moisture. But hey, if it works for you, man, nothing worse. You know, it's always nice going back feeling refreshed instead of, you know, sitting in your bay miserable. You know, like I said, get in my truck, go sit in a parking lot, smoke a cigar, watch YouTube. Charles Meekum, Atlanta is crazy. Was there once, 6 lanes going both ways to encourage visitors? No, I do not. Where I work is a trade secret nowadays because I don't need some of the shop owners that I've pissed off over the years. I don't need them figuring out where I work because I don't need them harassing me. I had problems at the old shop where people would call insisting to talk to me, et cetera, and I'm, you know, in the back working, etc. So I don't need that stuff at the new shop. Charles Johnson, why is your live stream called Working with a Broken Finger Sucks? Because I broke my finger. I broke my pinky. This finger is broken. I didn't go to the doctor, but it's swelled up bigger than my middle finger or my ring finger. And I punched my wife's desk accidentally while falling, while my mother-in-law's ex-dog, that's now my wife's dog, was having a seizure, and I was trying to deal with that. I tripped and stubbed all my toes except my big toe on one foot and was falling, almost landing on the dog. So I braced myself. My one knuckle hit the desk and broke. So Positivity Incarnate, what's your thoughts on Crown for whiskey? What's your favorite whiskey? Paulo, sounds like Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump. Change your socks. Crown's okay. I'm not a big Canadian whiskey drinker. Favorite regular production whiskey is Port Charlotte, which is a peated Scotch. Brook Lottie, Classic Lottie, which is an unpeated Scotch. You know, I've got, you know, Lagavulin 16, the green hat that I wear in videos, that's a Lagavulin hat. Balcones, their single malt, really good. Chattanooga whiskey, they have some really good stuff as well. Positivity Incarnate, I recommend you see a doctor so you can get it set correctly. I don't think it's like broke and, you know, twisted or anything like that. I can move it. It's just swollen at this point and really sensitive. So I don't think I'm going to go there, pay a bunch of money for an x-ray, and they're going, yeah, it's broken. And then put me in a brace that I'm going to immediately remove. So I don't think it's worth me wasting the time, honestly. And it's my pinky anyway, so I don't know if it'll show up on real good on camera, but you can, if you look at that pinky, my other pinky, it curves in. So whatever. I will live. And that, by the way, that pinky already had problems. I already had problem where it pops. Like I used to play a good bit of guitar, and I could never use my pinky for fretting on a string because how my pinky worked. It was very notchy already. Seahawks, do most tool truck warranty the tools even if you weren't the original owner of that tool? as long as you have a good relationship with the tool dealer. I've never had a tool dealer not warranty any tool I handed them. And I was the original owner. They didn't even ask. But if you never buy from a guy and, you all of a sudden find a tool in the sewer and you want him to warranty it, he may ask, if he's kind of a dick, he may ask for a receipt or where'd you get it kind of thing. Most tool dealers that come to a shop, they're just going to hand you a new tool. That's been my experience. Charles Johnstone, wow, the gift of age. Yeah. Learning 66, thoughts on Jameson. Jameson's good. I prefer their higher end brand called Redbreast. That is a single pot still Irish whiskey. It's kind of like the step up from Jameson. That's really good. Probably the best Irish coffee I've ever made was with Redbreast 12. When did you start wrenching? When I was 20. That would be almost 30 years ago. Charles, that's when I started wrenching. When I was 20 years old. I went to Nashville Auto Diesel in 1987. My son just graduated WildTech 4.0 with honors. Awesome. Told him to learn electrical. LOL. Yes. Most people don't know how much you use your pinky until you lose or injure it. Like I said, that pinky's not super useful, but it definitely got in the way a lot. Let me just put it that way. Zephyl, have you tried O'Shaughnessy Distilling? I have not. I have never. Keeper's Heart Whiskey. I've never seen that brand in a store. So, unfortunately, no, I have not. Look interesting though. But yeah, no, I haven't ever seen that brand itself. For a while there, I was really big into the Whiskey Tribe, a YouTube channel. It's kind of gotten a little weird since some of the stuff going on with the nonprofit versus the for-profit businesses they had going on. But, I'm always down to try a new whiskey. So, yeah, definitely a smaller brand. One of my favorites, Balcones, is out of Waco, Texas. Recently got bought out of by Diageo, so waiting to see how that screws them up. Diageo, by the way, owns Lagavulin, Dewar's, a bunch of companies. Have you tried Grip Edge tools? No, I have not. Yeah, they did not reach out to me. I think a bunch of YouTubers did videos on their products. But no, I have not tried them. Positivity incarnate, would you consider doing a sort of tier list of companies from like junk to best? Yeah, I can do that. It's pretty easy. I just have to think about it and figure out where I stand and list them all out. But yeah, I could do that. Eric Souza, those mid-length sockets are a godsend. Yeah. But now I lost my 8 and 10, and now I can't find a replacement from GP. So now about the Capri version and see how it goes. Zephyl, I hate the monopolization of everything in our world today. It's insane how few corporations control so much. Yeah. Finding out they sold to Diageo did not make me happy, because one of the things about Balcones is they're all about they're all about the best, when it comes to alcohol proof, kind of going in the weeds on whiskey, but they release a whiskey at what they consider its best presentation. Whereas Diageo pretty much how's the most amount of money that we can make with under legal restrictions. In case you don't know, whiskey has to be 80 proof or 40 ABV, alcohol by volume. And so that's concerning to me, because watered down, I don't think their single malts going to be as good. And they have a very distinctive flavor, so it's something that is concerning to me. So we'll see what happens. I believe Grip Edge make the RBRT sockets for Mac, so I've been curious. I don't know. I haven't gotten Renegade. What's up? I don't know who makes them for Mac, so I don't know if that's true or not. InBev, yeah. Complete Monster, yep. Charles Meekum, 17 Colorado 3.6 lifter tick right bank to cover off, found squishy lifters. Any thoughts? 156,000 miles. Probably oiling issue with the engine would be my guess. I mean, it would be what I would think is right bank, Colorado. I mean, that, I would worry about oil pressure and volume on that engine. If you've got a whole bank with squishy lifters, that doesn't seem likely that entire bank would fail. So I'd be seriously looking at how the oiling is on that engine, how sludgy it is, etc. Paulo, do you ever do these live streams with a little buzz on? No, I only drink on the weekend. I have been on, years ago, this will be how long ago it was, I did a live stream with Justin Dow. I was one of a couple that were in the live stream. Had a good little buzz going on there. But for the most part, no, I don't drink except on the weekend. just Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that's it. That's all I drink. I don't drink during the week. So all right. Any other questions? Well, if we got no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here because my bladder's about topped up. So ain't got no gas in it. Curiosity, how old were you in 1987? 6 plus 7, 13. I was born in 1974, by the way. So I turned 50 this year, so ain't got no gas in it. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Appreciate everybody stopping by. As always, thanks for watching. I am the Flatratemaster.